Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Ginny Branden, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. Hello and welcome to episode 68 of Riding in the Weeds. Today, as we promised, we are talking about taking out the trash. So last week we delved into the stories, the open loops, and just how that affects us. Today, we're wanting to delve into a few ideas about how, when we don't consciously look at these stories, how they affect our sleep, how they affect our body's natural processes of being able to eliminate, and we get stuck. So join us as we dive a little bit deeper into this concept. This is kind of an unformulated conversation that we're having. We too are experimenting with this whole concept. And so if you're listening to this and you have some ideas and thoughts and comments on it, please reach out and let us know. So let's talk about how we can take out the trash. I am Natasha Lockey. I am a performance, life, and bike coach. So I'm here with my co-host, Ginny Branden, who is all about animal communication, our relationships with our pets, our relationships with ourselves, and how that can really move us forward as well. After all of those words, I'm going to let Ginny kick us off with some thoughts about elimination.
Yeah, the book that I'm reading is called Mindfulness Redesigned for the 21st Century by Amit. I was reading the other night and I took a photo of this section of text and texted it to you because I was like, oh, the whole context is that elimination is as important as nourishment. And he started the section recounting an interview he was having with a guy who was interviewing him about the book. And he asked the guy, how uncomfortable are you when you're constipated? And the whole point is that not eliminating from our bodies physically is very uncomfortable. We have to eat. That's part of nourishing ourselves. And the flip side is that, therefore, we have to eliminate. The thing is, it applies to our brains too, but we don't often think about it that way. The actual context is he was talking about brain science, about the fact that our brain actually does have an elimination system that happens when we sleep. There are chemical processes that happen that help remove some of the toxins and things in our brains that can get stagnant when we don't sleep well. They have to happen when our brains shut down at night. But the quote really struck me in the bigger context that we can take care of those things and do those things in a different way during the day. If we are stuck ruminating on a story and spinning and spinning and spinning on a story, we're not eliminating. That's basically ending up being mentally constipated. And it's no wonder it's uncomfortable. I've totally been there. It's totally freaking uncomfortable. You're struggling with a job situation, or you're struggling with your relationship, or stress anywhere that weighs on you is uncomfortable. And when we don't take steps to work on eliminating that, then we're not going to be able to move forward. Even with the thought of elimination, it doesn't mean throw out all the trash at once. We're not really capable of that, I don't think, as humans. I know I'm not capable of that. I have to throw out things like one piece at a time because it takes time to work through those processes, and that's okay. But the whole point is, if you're not taking active steps to work through that and eliminate some of the things out of your brain and out of your physical awareness, then you literally will just end up constipated.
Yeah, I spent the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. It is time for us to pack our camper and head south. Now, our camper's actually already packed. It's full of my life. And as you can imagine, there's not much in a camper, theoretically speaking, compared to having a house. I've obviously got a lot less things. You know, it's
Compared to
like
my house.
Ginny has all of her books. I have a small selection of books that I've cut myself down to. And I look at them and I think, well, I haven't read any of these books. I should read them because in order to keep them, I need to justify that I'm using them. And I do this every year before we go. I take everything out, I reorganize, I clean the place, and I end up with all these bits and pieces, whether it's shampoo items that I haven't really used, or I have so much jewelry and I never wear jewelry. So today I put a ring on. I got one of my bracelets. I got some earrings in. I own more little earrings than I even realized I owned because I don't open up that box. And I instantly go to, well, I don't use it, I should throw it all out. I can't do that. Instead, I'm like, I want to use these things. And as you're saying, it's very hard to just eliminate stuff. And one of the exercises that a lot of coaches teach if they're in certain spaces is throw something out every day, declutter your environment, because that works, as Ginny was saying, it works through eliminating things. You get to a point where you can't actually eliminate anymore because you've eliminated all the stuff you want to eliminate. And eventually you'll have nothing, which might actually be a beautiful place to be. So when we come back to these stories in our heads, I think sometimes it's the same. We have this attachment to it, and we really have to ask ourselves, how does this serve me? Do I want to get rid of all my silver bracelets? I only have 4, but still I don't wear them. So should I just throw them out? How does it serve me to own these bracelets? When we've got these stories running in our head, it's that same thing. How does this story serve me? Does it have a purpose? What is it asking me to look at in my life? And if we can look at what the purpose of the story is, the whatever it is, we're able to direct ourselves in the direction that we need to go. And it might be that I have a keyboard, I was trying to use it. I have it because I'd like to use it, but I forgot that I had it and it doesn't seem to work. So that's a good example. It's not working. So is it serving me? Probably not. Is the conversation in my head that I keep having about how I'm overweight or I don't look the way I used to, and so therefore I'm not a valid human being, does that conversation serve me? And if it's not serving me, what am I going to do with it? Because if I don't do something with it, if I don't process it, I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to be feeling guilty about the food that I ate, or the fact I didn't exercise, or the fact that I need to exercise tomorrow. And that's just going to run through my head all night and I'm not going to get good sleep. And I'm not getting good sleep right now because there's all these things that need to be organized and put somewhere or thrown out. And it's hard, but it needs to happen.
Yeah. And I think you even bring up something that's important to note is that open loops don't just have to be stories in our head. Open loops can be physical things that you have to take care of. One of your open loops right now is managing the things that you have in your camper and making all those decisions about what you want to do with them. Decision fatigue is a real thing. And the way our culture is now, we are encountering so many more decisions every day than we ever would have encountered 50 or 100 years ago. It's just how our world functions. And so sometimes making the choice to cut down on the number of decisions is helpful. That can mean not picking up your phone. That can mean not checking social media. That can mean finding ways, hacks, if you want to call them that, to eliminate decisions from your life. We've talked about it before. Steve Jobs gave himself a uniform. Very simple. That eliminates the need to worry about what clothes you're going to wear tomorrow. And there's lots of different ways of doing that to help ourselves be able to release things and take out the trash as it is, proverbially or physically, either way. But it's important to remember that these stories are something that you're never going to get rid of. And they only become a problem when they're hindering you from being able to accomplish what you want to accomplish, or they're harming your mental health, or they're affecting other people or beings in a way that prevents them from living their best life. That's when it is a problem. And that's when it's important to be able to step back and start making different choices, figuring out how to create some elimination to get rid of some of the stories. Some of it can be as simple as changing your mind, allowing your dog to be a dog and not having the story attached of the rescue animal, or being able to just let go of this story that you've told yourself for so long. Sometimes it takes an event that shows us that the story we'd been telling ourselves wasn't true, like your story of snowshoeing and being a guide in the last episode. But sometimes it takes a little work. And I think that's what's important, is to assess everything and just pick and choose. What do I need to work with? What's going to be the best methodology that's going to get me something different from where I am now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's cool about thoughts in our head, and you brought this up before we started the podcast, is that there's actually ways to get them out of our head, which I'm terrible at journaling. And it's something that I wish I could do better. And I have a story in my head about how I don't do it. I think that it's the same with taking an item and throwing it in the garbage. And if you can sit and you can actually journal through these stories, which is the same as like, okay, well, why don't I want to take this item and throw it in the garbage? Well, because actually I want a keyboard and it'd be really cool to use it. But this one doesn't seem to work. So am I going to just throw it in the garbage and buy a new one? I'm a very environmental person. I don't like just buying stuff. I don't like, if I've got something and that I might use, I want to hold on to it, because there's no Walmart within 3 hours of here. So if I lived in a city, I might be someone who just threw it in the garbage and went down and bought a new one. It's not a money thing. It's a values thing. And so I have a story about my stories, And so we all have this, right?
Yes.
So what are the tools that might work for you? Do you have a friend that you can pick up the phone and have a chat with them about the fact that you've got all this stuff? Do you have a partner? My husband and I, we don't align so much. He just wants to throw everything out. I'm like, but what if we didn't need it? We haven't needed it for 2 years, Tash. Yeah. But I might need it tomorrow. And I know that comes from my upbringing. And I was listening to a podcast recently about how if you were brought up in an environment where there was financial distress at some point, if your parents went bankrupt, if there was money issues in the house. Now, most of us that went through the 80s have this because there was a massive recession that happened at the end of the 80s. And when I talk to people about this, they're like, oh, yeah, I remember this happening. And for the most part, we all have this experience. So you go one way or the other. You're either the person who gets your takeout containers and keeps them and never throws out your takeout containers because you can reuse those. And so you have a stack of yogurt containers because those are good storage. I don't know if you need 50 of them, but you've got them because you can't throw them out. And, those great Tupperware containers that our takeout comes in now that can go in the dishwasher, and they make great Tupperware containers. So you're not like, you've got this drawer and it's full of all of that stuff. You have clothes that you can't get rid of because you're going to need that jacket. Well, I haven't worn that jacket for 5 years because I don't really like it anymore, but there might be an occasion where I'm going to get it. Or you're the person who goes and buys stuff and you have a closet full of clothing that has their tags on it you've never even worn. And that's basically the trauma that comes up from being in that environment. And it's really interesting as you roll that forward and you see, okay, so some of this stuff actually isn't ours. It's come from where we've been. And when you realize, you're like, oh, okay, I'm normal. The stories in your head, they're normal. Everyone has them. We've collected them just like you've collected the Tupperware containers. And or you've gone and bought new stories because you've got like all of the self-help books that you could possibly have, but yet you're still not doing anything. And you're still not eliminating. And even though you read that story or you heard that podcast about how to get better sleep, is that you turn your phone off and you don't look at social media and you don't have blue light half an hour, 2 hours before you go to bed, you're still not doing it.
Yeah.
I think we have to find out why. Why are you resisting taking out the trash?
Yeah. And I love that you brought up journaling, because I think there's several different ways to use that in order to help that process. It takes sitting down and doing it and deciding you're the kind of person that will journal. That might take changing your story, but there's a couple different techniques that work well in this situation. One of them is morning pages. I know I've heard lots and lots of people talk about this. And basically, the concept is that you wake up and you write several pages of stream of consciousness process that helps eliminate the things out of your head. So you literally just sit down and free write and don't even focus on what you're writing and just write whatever's coming into your brain. And it's a process to help eliminate the things out of your mind that are sitting there. You can come up with personal discoveries that way. You can learn things about yourself that way. It's possible that things will come out that you might not say out loud, or that may not be aware at a conscious enough level that you would register them until they're written on the page. And the other idea is that when you've got a story, kind of like the poverty issue or the struggle issue, especially stories that you can't control what was going on in them. This is a technique that comes from Michelle Wolf that I've followed online for a number of years. And she talks about rewriting the end of the story for yourself. And so you sit down and you write out what happened, and then you write the ending that gives you closure in whatever way you want that to be. Whether that means that you make up with someone or you let them go out of your life, or whether that means that you are able to tell someone something that you weren't able to tell them before, or whether you just take a different action. It's kind of like choose your own adventure at that point. You get to decide how you want that story to end. And then that can help bring closure in a situation where there wasn't. Because your brain isn't really going to know the difference between what happened back in the past and then what you're writing about now as it happened. And so it's not really tricking your brain, but it's another way to sort of take out the trash of things that have just been sitting and spinning in your stories for a long time. I know I have certain situations that I can bring them up in my brain and I am back in that story immediately. So clearly, I still have work to do on eliminating those things in a way that releases their hold on me. Like I said, you're never going to get rid of the stories. That's human nature. So don't try, because that's a way to set yourself up for frustration and failure, and that's not fun. It's not going to be healthy either. But we need to have a healthy relationship with the stories that we have and how we work around them and deal with them. And I don't appreciate you calling me out for all of my sour cream containers that I have, because I have plenty of them. But I do use them a lot.
Well, and those Tupperware, like the containers that you get your takeout in these days, they're actually amazing because you can see through them and you can put all sorts of things in them, like the dog food. We feed the dog raw food these days. I'm actually like, Ian, we're running out of to-go containers. We might need to go and get ourselves some takeout because I need some more. I mean, there's validity here. And I think that, like what you were just talking about, there's actually nothing wrong with it as long as you're doing it consciously. right? And you clear them out every once in a while, and you actually do the Marie Kondo concept of, does this thing make me happy?
Yeah.
When you were talking about journaling, I feel like this is just a therapy session for me right now. When you when you were talking about journaling, I'm like, yeah, but what do I do with all my journals? Because that's another thing. I have so many journals, used journals in the camper that I am carrying around with me. They're
Yeah.
kind of like the textbooks of the mentorship course that I did last year. And I've got the roadmap, which I haven't really used. And I've got the books, which I did fill in, the workbooks from the retreats that I went to. And it's like textbooks. So it's a kid, right? When you're at university, like, what do you do with the textbooks?
Yeah.
And you'll get this one. I don't know if you ever bought it, but from Misty, the coach that we were working with when we met, for those of you obviously not telling Ginny this, there's this schedule book that it's like a 10-pound tome, and it's the whole year, and it's the content, and it's your week, and it's all of the things. And I didn't fully use it. So there's lots of pages that are empty. It's great. She put so much time and energy into it. It's actually an amazing tool. It's now 3 years old, so the dates don't line up. I've filled in some weeks. I've not filled in other weeks. And I don't know what to do with it. Do I keep it? Do I throw it out? I was going to throw it on the fire. And every time I go to throw it on the fire, I feel like I'm throwing away ideas. But they're old ideas.
I'm not going to lie, I threw mine away a while ago.
We're going to talk about this afterwards, because I might need some help.
Oh, I'm in the same boat with journals and things, though, because I have plenty of them. And I do find it hard to let go of those things. But the question is, are they weighing me down? Do I need those old stories anymore? And I don't know. The answer for me may not be the answer for you. But I also read a really cool quote. I won't get her last name right, but I will definitely post a reference in the show notes. Jenna of Cold Antler Farm was talking about the rituals of Samhain that's coming up, generally celebrated on Halloween, or Halloween is celebrated on Samhain, I guess is really the right way to say that. And she commented that ritual is just prayer in 3D. And I loved that saying, because what it really feels like to me is being able to do something that you have a little bit of a ritual around is like being able to physically pray here and now. Prayer to me is something that you do silently in your head, or you can do them out loud. There's lots of different prayers that are very well known. And so you can do them out loud, but it's generally not a physical activity. It's just either verbal or mental. And so she put it in this context where being able to use rituals as a form of active prayer. And so the question that I have is, could you burn them as a sort of a ritual and a releasing of the stories that are contained in those journals? Or even throw them in the trash with some sort of a ritual if you feel like it, if you don't want to burn them. Because some of them have like weird bindings and glue. Like the coaching notebook that you have, like they're not just plain paper pages, they're coded pages. It was a very, very nice book. But I got annoyed that it had dates in it. And I just finally was like, I don't need this hanging around anymore. I have other tools now.
Yeah, you're not looking at it. My other issue is that so this is representative of the stories in my head and representative of the stories that we have. Like, we're holding on to these stories. Is this serving me anymore? And they get convoluted because my journals are not like, I don't have a journal that's just, I try to have a journal that has just got my future visioning in it. And a journal, I don't do well with the angry journals. I have a couple of those. No, I have a couple pages in a journal. And then I've got that book in front of me and I'm on a coaching call and I start taking notes. And so the journals are a combination of a to-do list and notes and future stories and all of the things. And do we need to keep the notes from that coaching call that was a year ago? Is that information helpful? Do I go back and revisit those notes and go, oh, wow, okay. Maybe this is a task for me when I'm traveling through a boring piece of wilderness. I just go through one journal and I rip out everything that's not worth keeping and then use it for fire paper when we get to our destination. And as you say, that's a ritual for our stories in our head. Can you take the story out of your head for a moment? Maybe you write it down and say, what use does this have? Is this valuable to me anymore? Do I need to keep this? And if not, throw it out.
Yeah.
Or take what lesson is. Is it pointing at something for you? I was examining the story around my body image issues the other day. And I was asking myself, what is it that's important to me in this story? And what is important to me is that I have muscles that work. My husband said, yeah, they'll make it way easier to paddle into Pipeline. I'm not going surfing in Pipeline anytime soon. But am I upset about my body image? Am I upset about the little bit of extra weight? Or am I actually upset about my ability to perform? Because if I don't have strong legs, I can't snowboard. So is it how I look in the bikini, or is it how I perform on the surfboard that is more important? And can I rewrite the story to be, I'm going to work on building my muscles and my strength so that when I get on my surfboard, I'm able to perform. I literally could not snowboard last year because my leg strength wasn't enough. So how do I readjust the story? It's not about how I look in a bikini. It's about how strong I am. I don't like it when I look at my legs and they're not muscly, because then I can't perform in the way that I need to perform. I don't like listening to a podcast that says that you need to exercise 6 times a week or you will have health issues going forward. That's what I don't like. But I've coupled that with a story about my self-worth and my self-image. So how can I rewrite, adjust, change the story? And whenever it comes up, notice it and go, hey, no, that's not the point. Thank you. Thank you for pointing at what is important. And what is important is that I'm strong and that I'm healthy, because that's what's important to me. And I've made it mean something else, but let's change the meaning.
Yeah. I think really what this goes back to is, what's your focus? And what is your intention to do or be aware of? This is an episode from a long time ago, and I have a feeling this is going to be another episode coming up here again, because this is something that takes practice, and particularly in the context of stories where you may have had a certain way of thinking about yourself or about a situation for your whole life. So, can you change the focus? And the challenging part is, it means that every time your brain tries to default back to what the story was, you have to go, no, that's not where our focus is. Our focus is on being fit, not on our weight. And you have to continually redirect. It's like the toddler in your brain or the puppy. It's going to take a million times to change that focus. But that focus is so important. And I think in our culture and our world, it's completely undervalued. And on top of that, it's exploited, because when we're not focused, we aren't capable of making clear decisions frequently, which means we make impulse decisions, which means somebody makes money off of us. So how
true.
can we work with that focus and really decide that we are going to make sure that we're not focusing on the story we don't want, and we are focusing on the story we do want, because that's how we get what we want. The same is true with animals. If you are too busy telling the dog, don't chew on the shoes, all they're aware of is shoes and chewing. That's the picture that you're projecting in your mind.
Yeah.
And the same is true with our own stories in our own heads. If you're too busy worrying about what you don't want, your focus is not in the right place. So it takes a conscious effort to keep bringing yourself back and bringing yourself back and bringing yourself back over and over and over again until eventually that old story just fades away and just disappears with the rest of the trash.
Yeah, and it's so true in mountain biking as well. If you're or snowboarding or any physical activity, if you are focusing on the tree's not going to move. If you're focusing on the path, then you're good. If you're focusing on the rock, like so often people can't get over a rock because they don't look up from the rock. They're coming towards the rock, they're looking at it, and they go over the rock, they're still looking at it, and you can't move beyond what you're looking at.
That is 100% true on a horse. If you look at the jump, you will come off the horse. You have to look where you're going, which is after the jump, and the horse will happily jump the jump. Ask me how I know. I didn't come off, but ask me how I know.
Well, and it's at least the horse keeps moving, right? Like a bike, you're like the bike will stop as well because you're focusing.
Sometimes they don't, though.
I guess
sometimes they will flat out refuse the fence. If you're looking down, they'll refuse, and then you go over. I guess just like you would on a bike, but yeah, you'll come off.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The other thing that you brought up there that I thought was really interesting and so true. I was just listening to this podcast before I jumped on, and it was talking about childhood trauma, about being abandoned. The real story is that your parents went out on a date because they needed some alone time, but you're 5 and you took that to mean that they abandoned you. Just like the dog. The dog has no idea when you're coming back. You're not there, and they have no idea if you're ever coming back again. The 5-year-old kind of feels the same way. So with lack of data, we formed this story about abandonment and how we always get abandoned. And we can go back and exactly as you said, we can rewrite that story. Now we have new data. Or there's the other one where you actually don't have the data. So you make up a story. And I had a situation in my life happen with my parents, and I got given a new piece of information. My parents can say what they want to say about the situation, but there is absolutely no way of me knowing the truth. So, do I choose to believe the story that supports that I had a great life, my family life was amazing, my parents had a great relationship, and continue along that path that has always served me? Or do I take this new piece of information that isn't backed up by any data, that literally eliminates everything that I believe to be true? Well, the logical thing to do would be to keep going with the story that is good. Because why would I believe something that's going to rewrite a happiness in favor of something that continues to support my joy and my happiness? And it doesn't matter. It was yesterday. So letting it go, surrendering to it, allowing ourselves to be in this moment is all we need to do. And I think that that's kind of the summary of the conversation here is, what can you do to support the only thing that is important right now? And right now is the only thing that is important, because we don't have yesterday. We don't have tomorrow. We have today. We have this moment. And the last little thing I will add to that is, I was having a conversation with someone at Thanksgiving dinner the other night. She's a whale researcher. She's living in this little cabin on this outcrop of rock where you look out the window and there are whales that swim by underneath you. And her research is on the whale song. And while she is there, she has the choice of either being where she is or worrying about how she's going to get the money to be back again next year. And we were talking about how easy it is to live our lives in perfection, in this amazing life that we have right now. And yet we spend our whole time worrying about the money, the situation, the what if XYZ happens, and I don't get to continue living this moment. And that is such a waste, because we're focusing on what we don't want, when what we want is literally right here with us. Right now, you're with Storm. Storm is amazing. You're getting to spend time with Storm. I'm with my dog, Tiaki. My dog's amazing. I get spend time. And it is so easy to go to they're not going to be here forever and get sad about something that hasn't happened, whilst you're missing out on being in the incredible moment that you have right now with the people that are around you. And nothing will be the same tomorrow. So how do we take out the trash so that we can enjoy the right now, the right here, and have everything we want, because we already have it all?
Yeah. I think the real key to that is training the focus with the understanding that it's a muscle just like any other body muscle. And these things take practice, they take awareness. Like, you can't get fit if you're not going to be aware. You can't develop muscles if you're not going to focus on developing muscles. Whether you want to do a sport, if you want to take up kayaking, you're going to have to focus on what's needed in order to kayak or to ride a bike or to ride a horse or whatever activity it is. There will have to be a certain amount of focus on those tasks that are going to build the muscles to do that. This is no different. It's a little bit harder in a way because it's not tangible. Building muscles to ride a horse or ride a bike or kayak or do whatever physical sport you want to do, that's tangible. You're either working towards it or you're not. It is so much more difficult when we're talking about things that are in our heads that aren't tangible. It's harder to see results. It's harder to be aware of progress because you don't have something that you can look at to see that you've changed. And so it just takes repeatedly deciding that you're going to do it in a different way, that you're going to focus. This is where my focus is going to be. This is where I'm going to keep my focus. And it's over and over and over again. But you can build the muscles for this. You can build the resilience around this. It's like working on Focus Mate. When you start out doing something like Focus Mate, one session a day is probably all you can handle. Maybe even one session a week, depending on who you are and what you're doing. Or you'll find if you try to do other sessions during the week, they're not very productive. You might be on the computer on Focus Mate, but you might not be doing actual focused work. But over time, if you keep doing it and keep working at it and keep bringing yourself back, you can suddenly do 2 sessions in a day or 3 sessions in a day or multiple sessions every day of the week. But it takes time to build that. So you have to be compassionate with yourself and gentle with yourself along the way, because it's not a physical muscle. It's not that obvious. So you just have to keep aiming towards the goal and resetting your focus over and over and over again. And eventually, what I find in my life is that an event happens and I go, that's not how I would have reacted a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. That's not the way I would have responded to that situation sometime before. And that's when you get the validation that you have definitely figured it out and are definitely making progress. But those little moments seem to just pop up randomly when you least expect them. But again, if you're not aware, you'll miss them and you won't even know what happened.
I think that is a great summary of what we've been talking about. If you're not aware, if you're asleep at the wheel, you're not going to notice. And when you notice that you're stuck, it means that you're actually noticing something, which is one step forward. When you notice the story that's going instead of just living the story, that's when we get to start changing things. And as we build the muscles, as we take the opportunity to know that motivation doesn't come, that I don't want to do this thing, but I'm going to commit to doing it anyway. That's when we start to make progress. And just noticing is progress. They say the first step to recovery is admitting that you've got a problem. And it is so true in all senses of the world. And I think that we could have this conversation for hours and we could keep coming up with different things. And I think I just want to leave us with the idea of, what can you do today, right now, to take out the trash? Maybe it's throwing something out. Maybe it's choosing to keep something. Maybe it's noticing when you step into a behavior with your partner or your animal, or when you're on your bicycle and noticing it and going, you know what? I'm going to do something different this time. What is this thought asking me to focus on? And like my favorite Abraham Hicks likes to say, is when you first notice that you're stepping off the curb, you're going to get hit by the bus. The second time you're thinking about stepping off the curb, you notice the bus, but it's too late, you get hit by the bus. The third time, you might actually manage to step back off the curb and not get hit by the bus, but probably the next time the bus comes by, you're going to get hit by the bus. And it's not that the goal is not to not ever get hit by the bus. The goal is to notice, oh, shit, I got hit by the bus again. All right, let's try not get hit by the next bus. Because once you've stepped out, you may as well just let it happen.
Yep.
Please don't go and get hit by like real buses. So I am Natasha Lockey. I am a performance, life, and bike coach. I am all about helping you identify the things that are holding you back, that are getting you stuck. And I do this through our real life challenges when we're out on our bikes, when we're in the surf, when we're really physically pushing ourselves. We can learn so much faster by looking at what's happening in those moments and bringing them back into our everyday life. We still have spots, only a few, in our retreat in January, Baja, Mexico. It is a yoga, surf, bike retreat, all about bringing ourselves into our center, going out and having amazing experiences with amazing people. It's 6 days, 5 nights. It's going to be incredible. If you're interested in that, please go to bajaadventureretreat.com and sign up. If you have questions, send me a message. Lots of other amazing stuff happening as well. So with that, you can find me at Betty Gohard on Instagram, Natasha Lockey on Facebook, also on LinkedIn, the same, on Substack as well. And if you're looking for the show, it is writingintheweeds.com. We are on all your favorite platforms. And please leave us a review, leave us a comment, send us a message. You can also find us on the Facebook group, Writing in the Weeds. We're going to be building that, so go in and join. What about you, Ginny?
Yeah, I am Ginny Branden. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you are struggling with challenges with your pets, or you want to get to know them better, or you would like to change the story that you're currently in, reach out to me and we will see what we can do to support both of you. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Substack, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the same handle. Again, echoing what Tosh said, thank you so much for joining us today. You can rewrite your own stories. It's just going to take a little time and focus, but you've got this, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.